in October is olive harvest season in our part of, the Arab world, in Jordan, Palestine. And I was living in Jordan for the first year ever. And it's so wonderful to be in Jordan during that time because a large percentage of the population rely on olives. A lot of people will take time off work. Like if they're in the military, if they're whatever jobs that they have, especially the government employees, they'll take 2 weeks off to go harvest olives. I think they call it بالعربي الأردني اللهجة الأردنية تفريط يفرطوا زيتون.
Nice.
So they all go to their patches of land in the countryside and harvest olives, which is super cool.
Yeah, you need hands.
Yeah, it's a hands-on, all hands on deck. Everybody gets involved.
No machinery, it's not a thing.
No, the actual getting the olives off the tree is done by hand, or they use a brush, but it's manual.
Okay.
And then you take the olives and you go to your local pressery.
Mm-hmm.
And in the north of Jordan, there's one every few kilometers, it seems like. And then they press it for you.
Cool.
And then you take I don't know how they charge you. Maybe they keep a bit of your oil. That would be a cool system. Or if they just, charge you per kg.
Yeah.
But seeing that was nice of taking tourists up to the north to do something called the Olive Trail, where we stop during the hike to hang out and help farrat some olives.
Nice.
And Mama told me, listen, you're going to come to Dubai. I was planning to come to Dubai. She's like, please grab me, 7 kg of olives.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, totally. I see them on the side of the road everywhere.
What do you see?
You see, a boy with a basket full of olives and a sign. On the side of the street, Bil-Urdun.
Okay, selling veggies.
Yeah, selling. It's whenever there's anything in season, it always appears on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So, which is really sweet, by the way. That's such a nice little touch of living in Jordan. Whatever's in season's on the side of the road. البطيخ نزل. Oh,
exactly.
So,
we would never hear that somewhere here in Dubai, but I definitely heard my grandparents say that whenever we were visiting.
Yeah. I think in the UAE, I've seen that on the way to Fujairah.
Yeah.
No.
A little bit, yeah.
But it's not like locals harvesting. It always seems like employed Indian type
of course.
People
Yeah.
that are sitting there selling the car, and they all have the exact same stuff. There, it'll be honest. It feels like it'll be the person growing it.
Yeah, like a kid from the family farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mama told me, grab some olives. I'm like, I got you, Mama.
What does Mama want the olives for?
She wants to pickle them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think all of our moms do this, right?
Yeah, I think so.
The bigger, wider world out there, your mom pickles olives, right? Mama does it every year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked me to get 7 kg.
7 kgs, that's a lot.
How much is that? How much, in a bag?
It's not a huge, it's a lot of olives, but I was coming without much luggage. And she did tell me one thing. Ask him, اسأله يدرس الزيتون.
Oh, he's got to study it.
No, درس الزيتون is poking it.
Okay.
There's something that they do in the process of pickling olives. When you get an olive, and according to my mom, she was explaining this to me, how her and her sisters did it when they were kids. They would literally get a nail or something and puncture each olive. You have to do that before you pickle it. It's called dars zaytun.
Okay.
So now the pickling goes into the olive, I'm guessing.
I guess they just need to pierce it.
Okay.
This piercing is called dars zaytun.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, dars, what? Explain to me. She's like, yeah, هلا لما تشتريها يعني. He'll have a type of machine where he'll just put all the olives in it, and it will have a bunch of nails in it, and it'll puncture all the olives. Instead of sitting at home one by one, piercing each olive.
Nice.
Each olive 7 kgs worth of olives.
It's a rolling thing.
Exactly. It's like a torture device from the medieval days.
Yeah.
So I got the olives, and then he's like, سبعة يا زلمة قلال كثر how بالأردن they're always upselling it.
Yeah.
So I walked out of there with 12 kg.
Oh.
The guy was like, 7 بس ما بكفي لا هي خلاص كملها صاروا 12 يلا توكل.
Oh, that's a good salesman.
And I'm like, oh man, I got too many olives now. And I'm trying to act like I'm a local Jordanian who knows the ins and outs of the olives. I'm like, don't forget to درسها. So he ran it through the torture machine.
Yeah.
Which are nails that are puncturing the olives. puts it in a bag, and I'm like, sweet. I travel the next day, except I'm not flying directly to Dubai. I'm flying to Somalia.
What?
Then to Dubai, because I have a tour group there. But it was only like a 3-day trip.
Okay.
You get my point. You guys have all been there, flying back home, and you just stop over at Somalia on the way.
And the olives are like in that like hard
Yeah, they're like rock hard. They're not edible. They're just
so they
like,
can sustain like a few days.
oh yeah. So I kind of like, set up my suitcase for travel. I didn't have very much. Literally, the idea was like, I have this tour group just for 2 nights, and then I go back to Dubai. So I put them in my suitcase in the plastic bag. It was a garbage bag, plastic bag. So I tied it up and put it in the bag, hopped on the plane. A bunch of hours later, I arrived in the city of Hargeisa, which, to get technical, is Somalia and part of Somalia, but off the record, or they're trying to be a separatist region.
Okay.
Okay, and the capital city of the separatist region of what is referred to commonly as Somaliland is Hargeisa.
Hargeisa.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have their own government. They are trying to do their own thing, but technically it's all Somalia. So I arrive in Hargeisa. I've been there before. Kind of a boring place, not much happening. A lot of the people that do come on these tours, they just go to kind of check the box to say that I've been to Somalia, kind of thing.
Okay.
It's a special kind of tourism. So we get there, we try to do the best we can. As I arrive, I'm waiting for my suitcase to come out, knowing that 2/3 of it are olives, And dude, when the suitcase came out and I picked it up, it was in a puddle of its own olive oil.
Ooh.
What?
I know what you're thinking. Olive oil? You didn't put any olive oil in there. Well, it turns out my mom failed to mention when you pierce لما تدرس the olives, automatic thing happens. They start dripping olive oil.
You have to like secrete the oil.
Yeah, and I didn't know any of this. So this conveyor belt was like full of olive oil. I grab my bag. It's like dripping olive oil.
Oh, God.
But it smelled so nice.
You just need some za'atar on it.
Yeah, I'm like, man, who's got za'atar up in her? Yeah, which was
Lick
really...
it right off the conveyor belt.
Which
Make a
it was
salad.
kind of sad because it was the only product they didn't have in Somalia, za'atar. Like, all this olive oil and no za'atar, what am I going to do?
Just move this away because it's making noise.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Oh, was it this device does something?
Yeah. If you put it on airplane mode, it'll be fine.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. This is the frequency.
Okay.
So I take my bag and I call Mama and I'm like, yo, Mama,
Listen here.
what's going on here? Then she explained it to me. I'm like, well, you can't have mentioned that because now I have a tour about this. You should see my pictures of this entire album of me leading the tour. All my shirts and like pants, all like olive oil patches everywhere. It's pretty jokes. Yeah, it was a good tour. Ended up back in Dubai, gave my mom the olives, and that was that. That's my very short tale about olives and piercing them.
When you called your mom, you should have said, well, I had 7 kgs of olives. Now I have 7 kgs of olive oil.
Yeah. Apparently, for all of you though out there that are about to do this type of thing, you got to put them in jars. Yeah, like,
Yo, is it that easy to make olive oil?
no, you got to press it, but like I guess when you press them, they start dripping.
Yeah. And it's probably the quantity of olive oil that came out is nothing compared to like what should come out if it was 12 kgs of olives.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the minimum,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you guys watch that show Mo?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because like at some point his mom's like pressing olives and she's making olive oil.
Yeah.
And in when I was watching, I was like, no way she could do it that way. Like, 'cause she was like hand squeezing. And I was like, she needs like the big machinery and all that. You guys remember this?
I remember that. And I remember
yeah.
thinking, that's a lot of olive oil she got from that one bag of olives.
Yes.
I specifically remember thinking that.
Yeah, it's like not up to par in the selling
It's
of
not
it.
like as realistic
Yeah.
as it should be.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right. Don't believe the TV.
Yeah, I don't know enough to like... In my mind,
I mean, like
talk shit.
from your experience with the Madrus olives, could you make like the 7 kgs or 12 kgs? Could you make like a bottle of olive oil from it?
Honestly, I'm like the last person in the world to give it... I'm better than you two. It seems like, but
Yeah.
We're like looking to you for some expertise.
please, yeah.
Tell us.
Uh,
Oh, great master of olive oil.
Sure, why not? If you have no follow-up question.
Thing is, Fajer doesn't know because like most of the olive oil probably like poured out of the bag, so he
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
And
know,
was
like, how
absorbed
much.
by the material of his clothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like, yeah, helped
and
in-
distributed across the conveyor belt.
well, I think it was like Palestinian or Jordanian oil lubrication of all the mechanisms.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, the guy responsible for the machines like got a promotion that day. Like, oh, good job lubricating the system.
Yeah, like, oh, very fresh olive oil. Top notch. We didn't know that Somalia could afford importing the highest grade olive oil.
Nice.
For machinery only.
Yo, I just got a proposal, a program from my partner in Palestine about next October doing an olive harvesting. We're going to call it the Olive Trail, like a trek in Palestine
Cool.
in the West Bank.
When's that?
It'll probably be at the end of October, early November for the harvest season.
This
Yeah,
year.
it'll be like the hike we did. Same concept, 4 days. One night we'll like sleep with Bedouins, local Bedouins.
Whoa.
2 nights we'll spend in guest houses in small villages in Palestine.
Oh shit! Maybe
During
I'll
the-
join that.
Yeah, during the olive harvest time.
If
I
it's
think,
in October, November, yeah. I could
well, it
join.
has to be the harvest time.
Yeah.
Yo, can we align with Zayt Bladi on that?
Yo, Zayt Bladi sponsoring the shit out of that.
Like,
real.
I'm thinking like social media posts,
Yeah.
walking the trail.
So I still have the Zayt Bladi bottle. I'm waiting to refill it.
Nice.
As if you're holding on to it. Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice bottle.
Nice.
There's still a little bit of olive oil in there. I'm like, I don't want to finish it.
Yeah, man, that stuff's
You got any za'atar, man?
2020. The 2022 harvest really was unlike any harvest we've seen recently.
Yeah.
Just hope the 2023 harvest can, hold its own.
Yeah, and it's really a hit or miss because we've seen, not so superior harvests in the past. I've lived through this where it's been like, okay.
Yeah.
Like in Jamila, you're like, oh, okay.
So what happened? Like the taste is not the same?
It's like too olivey sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
the taste is not right.
Yeah.
Too pungent, honestly.
Too pungent. I think it's like directly related to like the rainfall of the season and the crops and stuff like that. But yeah, I've had it where the olive oil is almost too dense to be used on a salad. You can't even use it on a salad.
I think we had
Whoa.
the same batch.
Yeah.
You and I remember it being like, when you put it on a salad, it's like overpowering.
yeah.
Okay, guys, I've had that bottle for a while and there's still some olive oil in there. I've noticed that something started forming in the middle.
Yeah, there's like
Something.
some residue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
residue
like
of
a
olives.
lot now. And
Sediment.
I'm
Yeah.
too
That-
scared.
That just lets you know that that's cold pressed and that it's real 100% from like the pressers, that there's like
True.
a little residue.
Yeah.
It's not refined in any way.
Yeah.
And honestly, some bottles have more residue than others, just depending on where they're pouring is in line,
Yeah, like what batch you got.
Exactly.
Like,
If you get near the end of like the tenicate, there's going to be a little bit more residue.
Okay.
But I just feel like it's just like more life.
I like it. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it just makes it even more
Character.
authentic.
Yeah. It makes you feel like you really just got it from the pressers.
I just filled a bottle last week from the bottom of the teneke, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of like olive pieces, and I remember Mama, just telling me how it is, being like, "Wallahi, yani ahsan," or it's even more mumtaz.
Imagine you found like random shit, like a toothpick. It's like, oh, authentic.
So good.
Tubes.
The farmer himself's diaper was enough.
So what happens if I drink that? Do I die?
No, I think it's olive goodness.
That's still good?
Yeah.
Good.
As long as, you kept your olive oil out of the sunlight
Oh, yeah.
and within like relatively neutral temperature, like it's not too hot in here, then yeah, it's good.
Cool.